Good afternoon and welcome to another beautiful day of rafting with river riders. We got late August, it's hot out here, water's at a perfect level. Here we go. Okay, we're going to be putting in right below this rapid called Maytag here and continuing on down the river into a big hole called Top Drop right down below us there. That's going to be our first big hit. Our crews are up above here, getting a few last paddle instructions from the guides, figuring it out a little bit. They're talking about how to paddle, how to stay safe in the river, a few things like that. Figuring it out, just about ready to get on the water. Here we go. Okay, here comes our first crew taking off here. This is Richard and his crew off that first hydraulic. Richard's talking to him some, now calling for momentum as they cruise down into these bottom holes here. Getting some momentum for Top Drop and crushing through. A nice splash there. People are psyched about that, seeing some smiles. Good run for Richard. Okay, here comes Brad and his boat coming down. Bumping off that first leg. They're paddling nice and together. Got some unison going on here. Getting ready to crush down into the Top Drop. Busting through there, hitting that wall on the backside. Looking good as they bump into this other raft here. Everybody's all smiles, looking good. Very nice. Richard's getting a surf in here with his crew. Burying them in that hydraulic and coming on around here. Looking good. Good job. He's looking for another surf here. Burying them in there. They're leaning in. A little bit of a side surf going on. They're loving that. Very nice. Richard even getting wet in the back there. Amazing. Good job, guys. Okay, here comes Stan and his crew cruising into this first rapid here. Bouncing off that wall a little bit, getting their strokes together. Nice even digs. Good unison in that boat as they approach Top Drop here. Stan's calling a lean in. Crushing through the Top Drop. Nice hit there. Looking good. Alright, saw some great action down here at Top Drop. We'll see you on down at Grasshopper. Okay, here we are at Grasshopper Rapid. Big boulder there on the right. Couple of nice holes as we cruise on through there. We'll see how our crews take it on. They're going to be right along. Here we go. Okay, here comes our first raft. Stan and his crew. They've made it through the boulder garden. They're celebrating that. And now they're cruising down into Grasshopper. They've got a right line. Stan's calling for back paddles as they back off the rock, hitting that first hole, down off the side of the rock there, and a couple of nice punches as they cruise through. They're psyched about that. Looking good, guys. Very nice. Okay, our next boat coming in. This is Brad and his crew, getting some digs in. He's got a couple right up over the bow there, paddling hard, digging hard, crushing into that first hole there, getting a nice pop as they cruise around the side. Couple more nice splashes as they cruise on through. Nice run for Brad and company. Back up top, here comes Richard crashing through. Couple of pops as they cruise on through. Looking good, guys. They're psyched about that. All right, that's it from Grasshopper. We'll see you on down at Corkscrew. Good job. Okay, looking at some beautiful springs flowing into the river here across from Corkscrew Rapid. And here's the rapid itself. Nice hole on the bottom there, an even bigger hole up top, right up there, and a technical entrance. Here comes our first raft. They're digging hard, getting some digs in. This is Stan and his crew, getting some good solid digs in. Crushing into that first hole. They're whooping it up as they come around, and a nice punch on the bottom. Looking good. They're ready for those big lower rapids. Back up top here, our next raft coming in. Getting some nice digs, busting into that hole, up over the top there, and down into that last hole. Good job for Brad and company. Looking very good, guys. Nice job. Sweet. Back up top here, our next raft coming in. Richard's giving some commands. Now they're looking for momentum, crushing into that top hole, off that side a little bit. Huge hit there, hitting a little bit sideways. Everybody staying in the boat. That was a sweet run for Richard and company. Good job, guys. That was sweet. All right, exciting action here at Corkscrew. We'll see you on down the river. Okay, here we are down at the old cave. This power cave was blown out about 95 years ago or so in order to create some electrical power. We'll see if our crews paddle up in here. Dan and his crew cruising on by here, mellowing out, getting ready for these big lower rapids. Looking good, gentlemen. All right, Brad and his crew cruising on in here, getting a look at the cave, checking it out a little bit. Brad's explaining what's going on up in there. Looking good, guys. All right. Okay, Richard and his crew making an appearance as well here, checking it out a little bit, getting a look at the cave there. We're just about ready to paddle on down to Stair Steps Rapids. Here we go. All right, here we are down at Stair Steps, and there's Stan and his crew crushing through that second drop there. Nice punch there. They're going to get up and do a little surfing. Back up top here, our next boat coming in. This is Brad and his crew waving. Got the bow paddlers up there ready to crash into this big second drop. Crush and hit, everybody staying in. Looking good. They're ready for that big waterfall at Houston. Looking good, guys. Nice job. Very nice. Stan and his crew up above, they're looking for a surf here. Gonna dig in hard to that second drop. Getting some digs in, getting some digs in. Surfing it, yeah, burying in that front. They're loving that, looking good, guys. That was sweet. Here comes Richard and his boat. They've gone off the first drop, and now they're crushing down into the second drop. Looking good, and off to the side there. Very nice. Okay, here comes Richard and his crew getting a surf, charging in there, burying it. Yeah, looking good there, guys. They're psyched about that. Very nice surf. All right, we're ready to run that big waterfall, Houston. We'll see you on down the river. Look at big, powerful Houston Falls. A Class 5 drop, about 10 feet vertical, with about the last 7 feet straight vertical. We'll see how our crews take it on. They're going to run this today. Here we go. Okay, here comes our first boat down into the big drop, Houston. They're getting some digs in. Richard's having them paddle forward hard. They're digging for it, digging for it. Richard's saying, get down. Smashing through the drop. A clean run for Richard and company. They're celebrating that. Hitting a rock there. They come on around. Nice job. You see some big smiles in the raft there as they come off this rock here. A very nice run for Richard and crew. Good job, guys. They're digging it out, getting ready to run down through the rock fence here. Very, very nice job. All right. Okay, here comes Brad and his crew down into the drop here. Brad's calling for some forward momentum. They're digging hard. Digging, digging, digging to the left-hand side. Pretty far left here. Hard left here. Digging hard. Getting them down, getting them down. Going deep in there. A clean run for Brad and crew. That was sweet. Very nice deep run for Brad and company. Looking good, guys. Very nice job. All right. Woo! All right. Here comes Stan and crew. Digging hard for it. Getting some solid digs in. Looking good. Looking good, paddling hard. Stan saying, get down. Making his move, rushing in. Very exciting run there. They went deep, looking good. They're hitting this last rock here. And now getting ready to go on through the fence there. Psyched with that. Good job, gentlemen. Very nice run. All right. Thank you, Hewsome. We'll see you on down at Rattlesnake. Okay, here we are down at beautiful Rattlesnake. Nice solid river-wide hole off a little bit of a fall here. Our crews are just about to come along. Richard's our first boat through, and he's got a full boat lined up there. Everybody riding the bull up top there, looking good. Here they come down into the drop. Smashing in, crushing it. Looking good, they're psyched with that. Very nice run for Richard and crew. Our next crew coming along. Looks like Stan's coming in next. Got a couple of bull riders up there, looking good. Okay, here comes Stan down into the drop. Everybody throwing their hands up, crushing through, getting a face full of water there. Loving that. Nice job. All right, our next raft coming through. Got a couple of bull riders over the top, and they're still paddling. Brad and his crew getting some digs in, digging hard for it, and crushing through. Nice little pop there. All right, good job, guys. We'll see you on down the river. All right, up above us we got the beautiful Osprey there, and down below us our crews are cruising on by here. They've gone by the last little splash there. All smiles, everybody looking good as they dig on through onto the lower here. Good job, guys. Here's Stan in his boat, whooping it up as they cruise around this final corner here. Everybody all smiles, looking good. All right, great job, guys. You've done well on the river today. And here comes our final boat. Brad getting a nice last splash out of that there. Everybody waving to the camera. Looking good there, guys. They've had a fine day on the river. There's Brad showing his good side there. All right. Good job, guys. We'll see you on down at the takeout. All right. Our crew's stroking in, coming down into the takeout here. Everybody relaxing after that big adrenaline rush at Hewsome Falls. Seeing a lot of smiles, everybody looking good. We're ready to stroke on back down to the takeout here and cruise on back to the shop. One crew's in already, they got their jackets off. Thanks again for rafting with River Riders. Come see us again soon on the White Salmon, or maybe join us on the Maytag River this fall.